Hello and welcome to Assembly Connect the Rise session on pre-budget session with two of my guests. So as we are getting ready to have the budget presented by our Finance Minister Nirmala Sitaraman, so eighth consecutive budget she is going to should be presenting a record in its own. And in current geopolitical scenario and the macroeconomic landscape, we see this budget have a lot of expectations and will have an impact on the small and medium industries across India and the startups, which has been flourishing, some of the third largest startup economy globally. And I have my guest, Mr. Gaurav Kapoor. Gaurav is a veteran and just a second. So Gaurav Kapoor is founder and director of JSG Innotech, a veteran of around 3 decades working in automotive sector, and also have done a lot of investment in startups and other organizations. Apart from Gaurav, I have Manish Vohra, a digital transformation evangelist. That's what he calls himself. A person from the financial and banking background. So we have two different experts talking about their experience and expectations for the MSME. So let me start with you, Gaurav. What is your expectations from the union budget, which is expected in next 2 days?
Thank you so much, Mr. Ray, for getting me on board and introducing me in that format. Look, from the automotive sector, since it's been now ages, the GST has already been into the picture. It's time to redefine automotive sector again because this is a high tax area sector where the government is getting good amount of taxation. But since the market is so green that we this automotive sector need to grow further for the GDP. Automotive is contributing almost 7.1% of the GDP of the entire India, and this show the strength where our Prime Minister Modi uh, inaugurated the Bharat Mobility Show in the last week. So whereby we understand that there is a seriousness from the government side that they want to increase this sector not only on the domestic front but for the export sector also. India is becoming a hub for not only Asian market but for the entire world after China for the automotive manufacturing hub. In the past recent 3-4 years time, if you check all the major giants like Suzuki, Tata, Mahindra, Toyota, everyone is investing further. Suzuki is coming with the 800 acres of land where the SOP is in March 2025, which is in Kharkhoda in Haryana, which is the Asia's biggest automotive plant. Is definitely is a big move from the Suzuki sector to increase the production in that domain area. Toyota recently bagged 180 acres of land in Aurangabad to increase the capacity. Hyundai has taken a land in Pune, taken the GM plant, whereby they want to increase their capacity with the IPO also. Ford wants to come back. And this shows the strength of this country also, this sector also. Government is doing a lot of work in terms of road infrastructure and other sectors where, including the EV also, where this sector will get a direct impact because of the road infrastructure. People love to travel by car. So going forward, I see it. There should be definitely a vision from the finance ministry side also, because when you see unit economics, a 10 lakh rupees of car invites almost 3.5 lakh rupees of tax, which is too big for the consumer. It's time to redefine, as promised by the government when they initiated GST, that after a period of time, they will rationalize the GST sector and they will bring something which should be really viable for the consumers. So I really wish that finance ministry will going to look forward they on the consumer part, and they will rationalize this sector from 28% to 18%. That's
So
my
Gaurav,
first.
so what I can, yeah, so great. What I can understand is one of the key expectations is to rationalize the GST, bring it down to the common GST, predominantly the common GST, 18%, which is help in boosting the sales part. Great. Let me, before I ask the next question, let me ask Monish, since you're from banking, and I think the last couple of years, there's a lot of changes happening, a lot of reforms is happening in the banking sector, and I sincerely hope this is going to continue. But what is your any specific key expectations from the from a banking perspective from this particular budget?
Thanks, Sandeepan. I think banking and financial services, we are the enablers and accelerators of the economy. And basically, we channelize the funds into a velocity that will actually make the businesses grow. I always say money lying in the bank is absolutely no use, right? It's cash in your pocket, which is not generating anything. So unless and until we incentivize investment, like Gaurav said, there is a lot of investment coming in, but I think four areas that I look at from the budget from is one is what you mentioned in the very beginning itself, which is the MSMEs, and that is definitely the growth engine that we're talking about. We have large corporates, we have small businesses, but the biggest chunk of business is and the acceleration is coming in from the MSMEs. And while the government has taken a lot of steps in the recent past and enabled the businesses to actually get on board and get going a lot faster, but still it's cumbersome. It's cumbersome for somebody to actually start a business. We call it a startup, we may call it anything, entrepreneurship, but the fact is, it's still the ease of doing business, as we say, is something which is where we would want our economy to grow at the rate that we want to become the third largest economy. So if you really want the growth engine to kick in, we have a lot of other operational reforms to do. One is it's very easy to put something in a piece of paper. We've got acts, we've got legislations, but what is more important is for us to give teeth to these acts and to make sure that the operational rules behind these make it simplified to put it on the table. I'll give you an example. MSME. So government has done so many things. There are about 20 or 1,000 schemes which allow incentives for MSMEs. But the information availability to an MSME and their ability to actually take use of these is very limited. This is because the operationalization of this entire scheme is a cumbersome process. So I do look forward to a lot of work happening in this sector and the government supporting it by making more reforms and making it easier for the MSMEs to actually get businesses going and to avail of credit. The
No,
second,
I understand, Manish, because I think one of the key, and since we do a lot of interaction with the MSMEs, access to funds specifically for emerging businesses. I'll give you a thing is anybody of a turnover of 30-40 cr who is actually in the very good need of funds is where they have a lot of problem because of the
exactly.
cumbersome challenges which you have suggested.
And this is coming on the back. So this is coming on the back of the fact that our credit deposit ratios are actually inverse. The fact is there is money available. So it's not that there is a supply side issue here. The supply side issue is not there. The issue is in terms of how those interlinkages make it easier for a business to avail these facilities. The banks want to lend, the lender wants to take the money, but it's just not happening.
I know because a lot of changes happening with the laws and policies, specifically. Manish, you're there.
So there is a slack to his video, I believe, like
Okay, okay.
something.
No, I
internet.
understand. Yeah, yeah, we got him back. Okay, so Gaurav, coming to you, I think since you touched upon EV sector, and there's a lot of push by the government on the EV sector. A lot of subsidies also has been given on the EV sector, and to adopt EV electronic vehicles for means of transportation, both at public and in personal usage. Do you see any changes, or do you think there's anything positive coming from this government on this?
Look, Mr. Gadkari, who is a really, really dynamic leader, he's working. He's working on on a EV sector in a day and night. But then, on a personal ground, when we talk about EV, I see EV from the automotive sector. I see EV as a solution for the two-wheeler, not for the four-wheeler.
Mm-hmm.
Because for the EV, if someone says it is a green energy, So I disagree to that point, because when you produce electricity in India, so it is been done by burning of coal. Then there is a transmission losses. Then there is no structure which is available where these batteries will be disposed of later on. So I don't feel like that this is the end of this sector. We are seeing a big scope in which is coming up in hydrogen sector, where the hydrogen cars will rule out. Probably in couple of years or 4 or 5 years, US has already started. Australia is already having 2 3 cars. Europe has tested those cars. This is just a safety measures where they are not able to crack things during the time of collision. Otherwise, that's a fuel which everyone is look forward, because the end result of that fuel is water, which
Water, yeah.
which is 100% renewable. And I believe that will be a big change. Considering EV, yes, government wants to push. They have created a PLI scheme. Mahindra and Mahindra has given a good chunk of models in this exhibition. Tata is doing pretty good. Maruti is also committed to bring some models in the upcoming plan. Yes, there is a scope of it, but still India is lacking with the infrastructure because of charging, because of if you
Yes.
if you see like CNG, like it's been now a decade or more than a decade, but still the CNG availability is only to the metro cities. It's not even touched the B town. So hoping to get this infra done in next 10, 20 years as a charging hub, it will be very difficult. So, and going forward, I don't feel it as a green energy, because it is really difficult to produce electricity in
Yeah,
India.
that's a debatable question thing. Okay, Manish, if you look at in last couple of quarters, the growth has really arrested or not declined as such, but it's got hampered, the not as per the projection. And I think it's the global recession which is there in the US and the European market has really has some impact on India. Uh, what are expectations? What do you think that the finance minister should do to overcome that situation and propel ensure that the liquidity is available in the market and people should be able to spend a lot?
So, like I said earlier, one is I don't think credit availability is an issue. The credit delivery is an issue because the ability of intermediaries like banks, financial services, fintechs, also to actually go ahead and lend is very, very hampered. And I'll come back to another expectation that I had, which is, and you mentioned that in the very beginning itself, which is the number of regulatory changes which have been happening. And I think a lot of I wouldn't say speed breakers, but a lot of bumps have come in because of a lot of regulatory actions that have been taken. All of them very well warranted. There is no question about the fact that all the regulations that have been brought in the last 2 to 3 years are some things which are needed and required, and in the longer term they are to the benefit of the economy and the individual consumer and the businesses. But a lot of regulatory rationalization is required, because when you get too much of changes happening simultaneously and changes happening all across, these have to talk to each other. And I think that is where really a lot of time goes in terms of businesses and consumers understanding the implications of these regulations, and then moving around to navigate these to make sure that you're able to, it's just like Gaurav mentioned earlier in terms of GST. It's been in place for a long time, but it still continues to be a bugbear for a lot of us, just because it's the process has not really been streamlined to that extent. So here again, the credit delivery is really important for us to make sure. And a couple of things that are required for that is, one is for a lending business to actually flourish, there are two key cornerstones, and one is the KYC, the knowing your customer, and the government has done a remarkable job in terms of digitizing the KYC process. And today the Digi Locker is a phenomenal thing. You can actually board an aircraft, you can do you can a loan in 3 seconds because of that. Having said that, this needs to be actually integrated to a lot more, because today the information which is available, while information is available, it is available in lots of data is in different places. Mutual fund data is in one place, lending data is another place, insurance data is in third place. So there is a lot of need for integrating all these data sources together, because this now leads to the second part that I'm talking about, which is for the lending business is crucial, is underwriting. And I think that is where the government also needs to help us. Credit bureaus aside, there is a lot of work which is happening and which needs to happen on alternate underwriting, in terms of providing alternate information, in terms of providing information about land use. A lot of land records have been digitized, but those are predominantly in the 7 states. Today, for you to look at rationalization of land use, it's a challenge. Another thing that the Department of Post is trying to do is to put in the 16-digit geotags. Phenomenal process that they're thinking about. India is not a country; it's a continent in itself, and our ability to identify and locate is very, very, very important when we're talking about a secured, or more importantly, an unsecured lending business. And with the mobility of people, it's extremely important that you're able to identify and tag individuals in certain locations. And the activities that we are doing in terms of digitizing location is really going to go a long way to make sure that we're able to kind of pinpoint those locations and to identify the right customer. So I think this entire process of enabling credit is something that the government needs to work rapidly on, and they are. Like I said, DigiLocker is the entire digital KYC eco-frame, and the payment framework is extremely efficient today. Similarly, when we talk about UPI, and its new avatar, which is the United Lending Interface, I'm really excited about the fact that I think I'm looking at a lot of changes happening with the unified lending interface that RBI announced last year. And I think while it still needs to be operationalized, but the fact is that is going to be the game changer to allow credit to that level of population which really needs it. Today, that level of population does not have access to organized credit, which means that there are usurious rates, there are other malpractices which happen, and which actually tarnish the entire financial system. End of the day, it just puts a blemish on the entire financial system because of that one odd thing which is happening. But with more transparency and democratization of lending, I'm sure that this will help us to expand the digital footprint of lending to a scale where you're actually able to reach out and make profitable. See, ultimately, we are businesses, right? Businesses need to be supported. There has to be a return on the investment. So for businesses to be supported, it's important that we have the framework in place to be able to lend efficiently and to be able to get our money back.
Great. So what I understand from Manish is what you're looking at is investment from the government side to ensure that all the financial data is integrated one place and accessed by bankers to use it properly in the right decision making in lending and all.
Absolutely.
Great idea. I think that will also help in terms of ensuring that the NPA, which was really soared up a lot, to control that in near future. Coming back to you, Gaurav, and we are about to have time. So let me ask very straightforward. What kind of tax reform are businesses expecting from, or do you think is going to be any tax reform coming for businesses? One. Second, any tax benefit as an individual is going to gain from this budget?
Well, to answer your first question, first of all, I must appreciate Mr. Vohra that he raised a right point where the MSME need to be fueled up with the money, because the money is a key factor where the business can grow multifold. In country, to increase the consumption level, the product need to be a little cheaper. That's a way Indians do. So I'm not saying the government should not earn, but the earning should be a reasonable. When someone is paying something, let's say he's buying 100 rupees a product and he is expecting ki I'm getting just 72 rupees, 28 rupees is going in the government, and it actually invite a gray market to look forward. So when Prime Minister Modi says once at a Lal Killa that this will be 5 trillion economy, for my side it is already a 5 trillion economy. It is only the gray market which need to be converted into a white market, and that is what is required. And for that there is a will from the political side that you need to come down to an era where the people should start feeling comfort that this is what we are paying and this is the government is also spending. for them only. So if this will happen, nobody will bother to pay whatever tax is there. Coming to your individual taxation side, I believe like there will be definitely a relaxation to the individual side, because that will also boost Indian economy, because that will bring more money for spending as a common man. Yes, it will be a big jolt to the government from the direct taxation side, but still, they are getting taxation from the cascading side, because the spending will indirectly come back to them only in the form of GST itself. So there will be almost a net zero impact on that. So there is no doubt about it. If India need to grow, MSME need to grow, there should be more tax reforms in terms of more simplification. Likewise, what he is Mr. Vohra was telling, taking a money should be easy, but yet I do agree with the government side also. The NPA ratio should decrease, and there should be a structure where every document, everything, the people should have a fear about whosoever is taking money, that he has to definitely pay back to the bank, because that's only the way they can grow. However, in last 2 years, I can see a great growth in IPO sector also, where a lot of SME are bringing their IPOs, taking the money from the public sector, not taking from the bank side, because they are getting good value out of it. And that is also a good way of getting the money. I also run an AIF, alternate investment fund, where a lot of people like us also put a lot of money inside the SME and MSME sector, where we see there is a potential, because the large companies are already grown up into that multiple that it is difficult to make more money. So the fact of the matter is that this era will definitely the golden era of the country, where we have a stable government from the central part. We have almost a stability from the state government side also, and people are also excited about. In last 10 years, whatever reforms which need to be done, including GST, including demonetization, including some SEBI reforms or a banking reforms where the mergers are required or something of that stuff is required, it's already been done. The platform is already set for a people to work. It's only the last push which a government need to be put in this budget, so that people will start running, and they will convert this country into a number one country of the world.
Great. Thanks, Gaurav. Manish, same question to you. What is your expectation in terms of taxation reforms, both for industries
I
and
would say
for personal individuals?
and the wish list is the fact that I think there is one, like Gaurav very rightly said, the tax level has to be a level where the cost of compliance on the individual and the cost of compliance from the government is not usurious. Today the fact that you have to implement such a high rate of taxation means the amount of money that goes in collecting tax itself is quite substantial. If for every rupee that you collect as a tax, you're ending up paying 30 paisa just to collect the tax. Now, I don't know how efficient a system like that would be. Having said that, like I said, from a consumer perspective, whether it's a business or an individual, I think if the government wants to put their neck on the block, what they really need to do is link the tax slabs to the consumer price inflation. Every year, if my cost of living is going to go up by 6%, and my tax slab does not go up by 6%, I am losing out. And when I lose out, the nation loses out, because I am then saving up on or cutting down on my consumption. So unless and until I start consuming at a rate which is faster, we will not really be able to accelerate the economy. And this may sound very obtuse, but the fact is that this would also put a pressure on the government to make sure that they keep the inflation in checks. It's a counterbalance for you, so that one piece of index will work both ways. Because if you want to keep the tax rate the same, keep the inflation low. That's what you see in the developed economies, and we want to become a developed economy. So one way of looking at it is to make sure that we put our stakes on the ground, and that is all of us. I wouldn't say it's just for the government to look at it, but it's for all of us to look at the fact that the real increment that we are getting, it's not the notional increment that we are getting. The real increment that the businesses are getting is the same as what the government is getting. End of the day, the government is now being run, and I'm very happy to say that the government is today run like a private enterprise. The accountability, the interaction, the way the government runs today is being run like a private enterprise. And when it is run like a private enterprise, and there are stakes on the ground for everybody, I think one stake on the ground for the tax department and the government, the finance ministry, should be to look at the fact that if the inflation is going at an X percentage, there should not be an erosion of wealth. I'm not saying don't increase the wealth, but there should not be an erosion of wealth for an individual or a corporate. Because the moment that I see that I am earning less than what I was last year, I would start cutting down on my consumption. It happens all across. It happens for individuals, it happens for businesses. So
absolutely, Manish, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's the writing on the wall is very clear that tax reform is something which I think is long due, should happen to ensure that the consumption increases in a near future and in long term things. One more thing which I think which came out in this discussion is that the platform is set over a period of last 10 years. It's time to ensure that we do the last mile push so that the vision of Viksit Bharat or vision of a 5 trillion economy can reach at a much faster pace. Okay, so that brings to the end of this session. Thanks, Manish, and thank you, Gaurav, for sharing your valuable inputs. So what came out of this discussion is one is we are looking for tax reforms. That's something a long pending demand of for both consumer and industries. And third is a more rationalized GST requirement for automotive sector, which Monish, in fact, Gaurav was talking a lot. So thank you very much, and we'll see you soon at SMB Connect's website.